If you want to be respected, you have to look intimidating, but people will be pleasantly surprised when they speak to you. This is the exact hook that went viral on one of my recent Instagram videos. And it's very interesting that people are drawn to this, because if you feel like you don't get the kind of recognition and respect that you deserve when you're communicating, when you walk into the room, and this video is for you, let's dive right into it. We're going to go from people pleasing to respected. And when I talk about respect, I am talking about effortless respect. Because an executive presence doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to demand and command respect. It happens naturally and authentically. Now, why do I say you have to look mean? Because if you have nice guy tendencies, and let me know if you resonate with any of the following. You're a little bit too agreeable. You get into your head around senior leadership, around big clients. You find yourself not voicing your opinions authentically and confidently around certain people in high stakes situations. It is very likely that you are submitting energetically, you are retracting, and not allowing people to feel the fullness of who you are. So getting rid of the bad habits is the first step towards developing that executive presence. What are some bad habits that you should be very aware of? Being overly agreeable, smiling, this is a big one, and nodding excessively, being reactive in your communication. Being reactive means noticing a physical response, a physical reaction whenever somebody of authority, somebody with power walks into the room or challenges you as well. People pleasing, we're just going to label it as people pleasing for now to make it simple. No, Cosmo, stop. People pleasing causes you to be reactive, meaning you lose composure. And this loses respect and confidence. Confidence in you as a leader, as a professional. If you have any of these habits where you find yourself retracting, you find yourself being reactive, you smile and nod when you don't actually agree with something, that subcommunicates low status. It subcommunicates low status. Therefore, you need to be very, very careful of how you're reacting in certain situations. What I'm going to teach you in this video is how to be effortlessly respected and how to develop the kind of habits that display an executive presence. Because if you're a grown-ass man or a grown woman, and to this day you shrink around certain individuals, then you're just giving away your power. That's exactly what you're doing. So let's talk about the habits and behaviors to employ. And we're going to call it high status behavior. The first is being slow. This is going to be very practical, so I hope you have your notebook out. Slow and intentional in your movement. I hope you can read this. your voice. Far too often, what do people do when they're put on the spot and when they're challenged? They rush, they fill the void, they over-explain. Another bad habit from the previous slide can be over-explaining and oversharing, which is basically a form of overcompensation, because you don't believe deeply that your words have sufficient value. Even if logically you believe they do, if you're over-explaining, you're reacting, you're jittery in your communication, people are going to feel that and you're going to start overcompensating. So it is such a simple and easy behavioral change and shift to simply slow down in your movements. I'm talking about the way that you sit, the way that you extend your arm, your voice. When you make a point, it is intentional. Another tip which will really nail this in for you is pausing. High status individuals, people with authority, they pause. They're not afraid to let the tension and silence hang in the air. A big mistake that I see from clients is when they're in high stake meetings, even when they're talking to me sometimes, they over explain things. And whenever there's a pause and I'm listening, they rush to fill the silence. That communicates that you're not comfortable with yourself, you're not comfortable with what you just said. So get into the habit of letting it land. Say your statement, share your question, and just let it land. Don't use hedging language. Speak with certainty. The reason people get promoted, the reason people win big deals is not because of their knowledge and their competence. Sometimes that's the case. But I'm sure you've seen people less competent, less experienced than you get a promotion, win a deal when it should have been you. That's because it is very likely that they had more certainty. I tell my clients as an example that they've been through with me, if they get on a call with me or one of our consultants and they join Diamond Eye, our program, the reason they joined is because they have certainty that we can produce results, that we can deliver the results that we promise. Otherwise, they wouldn't have paid us. By the way, if you want help with this one-to-one, you can book a free 15-minute communication audit where we will break down your communication style and give you feedback and see if we can help you potentially. You can book that in for free in the description below. So certainty is what wins deals, and it's what is contagious. If I have certainty in my method, you're going to feel that. Certainty, confidence, conviction. If I have that, you are going to feel it because of the law of state transfers. You're going to feel what I feel. I speak about that in other videos as well. Another great habit to get into is being concise and precise. This is the exact opposite of over-explaining. Get into the habit of making the statement and letting it land in as few words as possible. Because the fewer the words, the more opportunity you allow the subjects to absorb what you're saying. Which is why even when I teach, I like to machine gun through points, maybe give an example here and there, because I don't believe in fluff, especially when you get to a higher level where you're dealing with leadership and seniors and board members and executives. These people don't want to hear fluff. They don't want to waste time. So get into the habit of being concise and precise in exactly what you want to say. Okay? This works in all communication scenarios. That's why I've managed to grow my Instagram to 350, 60,000 followers, TikTok, 100,000. It's because my videos are concise and precise. I'm not over explaining stuff. I'm just being precise, to the point. Let me know if this is resonating, ladies and gentlemen, in the comments. I do read your comments. We're still growing this channel. So high status behavior is intentional. It's concise. It pauses. And it is non-reactive. We can do a whole nother video on this, by the way. But high status communication is non-reactive. For example, earlier, I don't know if you noticed, but I said no Cosmo. It's because my kitten was nibbling on the board in the corner here. Some people might go through that and say, oh, I've got to start the video again, etc. They become reactive to it. But I don't let it bother me. If I lose my train of thought, I'm not going to let it bother me because I'm not reactive. I'm not reactive to mistakes, to unpredictable scenarios. And if you can train yourself to be non-reactive, how? By slowing down. Slow down. Get into the habit of slowing down your reaction time. You get to the point where something happens, you're challenged, let's say, in a meeting. Somebody throws a curveball at you. And instead of, oh, well, the reason I said that was because of this and that, reactive. Instead of that, you just, it's a good question. You pause, and people will let you pause. And if they interrupt, you just say, 1 second, let me think about this. And then you respond. People will respect that. Have you noticed people with an executive presence are pretty chilled out? They're grounded. Let's add that. They're grounded. How are they grounded? Excuse my handwriting. They're present to the moment. One of the first things that we take all our clients through is presence and energy work, which is through meditation. Why meditation? You're an executive communication coach. That doesn't sound very corporate. First of all, we're not corporate trainers. We're personal trainers. Secondly, what do you do in meditation? Do you have experience meditating? You sit down, you focus on the present moment, and you're a human, you're not a robot. Your thoughts are going to come, right? The thoughts come, you become aware of it, and what do? You come back to the present moment. You don't attach yourself to these thoughts. You have emotions of frustration, impatience. As you're meditating, you notice the emotions. Aware of it, not trying to change it, come back to the present moment. That's the exact same thing that you do in a situation where normally you would be reactive. This time you're not reactive because you're aware of the impulse to react, to over-explain, overcompensate. But now you're aware of it and you simply come back to the present moment. Okay? So how does this relate to my initial statement at the beginning of the call? Make sure we're still rolling. Yep. I said you have to look intimidating in order to be respected, but then when people talk to you, you're kind and warm. That's because when you are still, when you pause, these behaviors have weight behind them. They have weight behind them. The kind of weight that communicates, you shouldn't mess with me. I am amicable. I am a nice person, different to a nice guy. And I'm willing to have a conversation, to have dialogue, but you can't mess with me. You shouldn't disrespect me. You don't say that. Your energy says that for you. I'm one of the nicest people you ever meet. I'm telling you, if we ever meet in real life, One of my values, by the way, is humor. I love a sense of humor. That's how I choose friends. If they have a sense of humor, love that. So just because I'm still and I'm present and I'm grounded, which is feedback I get all the time, that doesn't mean that I'm an a-hole. That doesn't mean that I'm not a nice person. Too many people have these bad habits and they disguise it as, I'm just a nice person. No, you're not. A truly nice person is capable of being assertive, is capable of being grounded, and they choose to be nice because it's a choice. Being nice and being a nice guy because you're afraid of pushback or resistance is simply weakness disguised as virtue. And that's not who you are. So I'm telling you, if you can apply these, you're watching this video for free. Go apply it. Don't just waste however many minutes this has been of your life. Go apply this. Write it down. Write it in your notes app. And again, if you want help with this, every week we track your progress. Like, how are you going? How did you do? What were the challenges? Did you practice this? Did you apply this? And we work with you for 3 months minimum until you get the results. If you don't get the results within 90 days, we continue working with you for free. That's how confident we are in this method. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. So go ahead and book that introductory call if you're interested. I hope this was valuable for you. Develop that grounded presence, and I'll see you soon.